Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Dan slaps a coaster onto my phone. Step back tonight, his thumb stays on the screen. You're in the way, his jaw barely moves. I pull the phone free and feel the room tilt. I'm max 27, I know how this sounds. Friends negotiate, we don't usually issue orders. But his eyes hold a dare I can't ignore. I nod once, not agreement, more like buying seconds. Lena's coming, he checks the door and adjusts his watch. You hover and she never chooses, his breath runs hot. He nudges my shoulder like I'm a teammate subbing out. I plant my feet and he waits for me to flinch. I ask what he actually wants, no fluff, no speeches. One night, no interference, let me run it. He taps the bar twice, a countdown I didn't permit. My mouth dries and that tells me too much. The door swings, Lena steps in, focused, quick. Dan lifts a hand first, sharp like a flag. I raise mine slower, not timid, just measuring fallout. Her eyes catch mine, then slide to him, then back. Dan moves to greet her, cutting my line like traffic. Drinks on me, he flashes my card without asking. He bumps my elbow on the pass, a little victory. I pocket the card and my pulse climbs anyway. Lena reaches me first, somehow a small pivot. You too weird tonight, her eyebrow ticks, curious. Team talk, I keep my tone even, thin ice everywhere. She studies my face like she already heard the whistle. Dart start, Dan claims the first throw. He posts up in my lane, shoulders broad, grin tight. Cheer squad right, he flicks a glance at Lena. I back up one step, enough to feel the shift. My turn, the board blurs then snaps into shape. I throw and miss by inches, not by accident. Dan doesn't notice, which tells me everything. Lena does, which tells me more. We reset, Dan leans close, voice low but sharp. Don't crowd, you keep her in orbit. He smirks like gravity is a party trick. I picture the crater if I move wrong. Lena calls from the table, you two done strategizing. Dan lifts both hands, innocent too fast. I join her and keep my shoulders square. She watches our spacing like it matters. He launches questions at her, quick and bright. I listen and count the tells he can't hide. The overlaugh, the borrowed stories, the rush nods. She glances at me when those land crooked. Dan nudges my knee under the table, a warning. I'm serious, man, let me have the lane. He sips, eyes fixed on the prize, not the spill. I picture tomorrow, and it's louder than this room. I step away for air, not retreat, just clarity. He follows, scraping the floor with his heel. One word from you and she stalls, his whisper bites. I wonder when I became the break. Back inside, Lena is standing now, chin lifted. She pats the empty chair once, a quiet signal. Dan moves to sit, expecting permission. I slide in first and the table goes silent. Truth time, my hands stay flat, no theatrics. Dan freezes, a coin on edge, waiting. Lena leans forward, ready for impact. I breathe once and the night finally starts. Here's what happened, I face both, pulse steady. He pressed me to clear out, tonight no questions. Dan scoffs and scratches his neck, eyes hard on me. Lena studies our hands on the table, waiting for more. I won't block anyone, I keep my voice even. I also won't vanish because someone orders it. Dan leans forward and knocks my knee again. Lena's gaze lifts fast like she caught a foul. Don't twist this, his grin shows teeth, no humor. You linger and everything jams, he spreads his fingers. I breathe once and push my chair an inch back. Lena's jaw tightens and the room narrows. 1 minute, just us, she points toward the corridor. Dan opens his mouth, then shrugs like it's nothing. We move 3 steps away, close enough for him to hear. Her shoulders straighten and my ribs brace for impact. Are you into me? No cushion, just the blade. I hold her eyes until my throat aches. I care, I didn't plan this, that lands between us. She nods once and something heavy shifts. I want clean behavior now, she taps her wrist. Space, not theatrics, respect, not games. I agree because pretending otherwise would rot me. We turn back and Dan is already mid-performance. He flashes 2 tickets he just pulled from nowhere. Tomorrow, prime seats, let me prove I'm serious. Lena glances at the slips, then at my face. I fold my arms in silent stretches. I step toward the counter for water and air. From there, I catch Dan measuring our distance. I've seen that calculation before and it burns. He pivots toward me and the gap disappears. Don't play noble, his breath hits my cheek. You always look harmless until she chooses you. Boundaries, I answer, one word like a door. No borrowing my stuff, no cornering her alone. He laughs under his breath, a little cracked. So you're staking land you never asked for. Not land standards, my palms stay open, ready. He rolls his shoulders and the crowd noise thins. Lena returns and places both hands on the table. New rules, each of you asks me one question. One answer only, no speeches after. Dan blinks twice, then nods because there's no exit. I go first before courage fades at the edges. If I step back tonight, do you still want me around? She holds the pause like a weigh-in. Yes, if you act with care. Dan clears his throat and picks the obvious one. Do you want me right now? His heel taps. I'm curious, not convinced, her words land clean. He forces a smile and it doesn't stick. Next move is mine, she slides the tickets back. I'm walking outside with him for 10 minutes. You can join us after if you still want. Dan's knuckles white and the night leans forward. We hit the door and the noise drops hard. Lena walks ahead 2 paces, checking if I follow. I match her stride, heat in my neck, thoughts racing. Behind us, Dan hovers at the threshold, undecided. Clock started, she taps her wrist and faces me. 10 minutes means honesty, not posture. I steady my voice and keep my hands still. I'm here because pressure felt wrong, not romance theater. So you want me minus the showdown, her chin lifts. I want fairness first, then whatever's real, I answer. She studies the sidewalk, measuring where this could go. Fairness is boring when hearts are involved, she mutters. I'll take boring over manipulation, I say and breathe. Tonight felt like a dare not care. Her mouth twitches, then smooths like she caught herself. That red matters because I noticed it too. Footsteps scrape behind us, quick and annoyed. Dan joins without asking, jaw locked and eager. You done with the side huddle, he tosses out. Lena raises a palm and he freezes mid-step. Ground rules again, she draws a line with her shoe. This walk is neutral, my choice stays mine. Dan snorts once, then pockets the noise with effort. I let the silence stretch and it pulls tighter. Answer me one thing, Dan angles toward me. If you liked her, why didn't you move earlier? I pick the truth that hurts cleanest. Because rushing ruins trust and I was scared. He bites down on that and swallows pride. So I'm the villain for wanting clarity fast. No, I say, you're reckless with other people's bandwidth. Lena exhales slowly, and even that feels like a verdict. I'm not an award, she says and steps closer. Both of you keep turning me into leverage. She points between us like a referee on match point. Anyone who keeps score loses me. Dan backs off 1 pace, hands spread for calm. Okay, then let me earn a real chance. He turns to me, eyes bright with challenge. Give us 2 weeks without your influence. Define influence, I ask, because ambiguity is a trap. No late calls, no private hangs, no rescue missions. He ticks them off like checkboxes that shrink me. Lena watches my face, waiting for who I'll be. I imagine function without our daily banter. The gap shines with possibilities and risks. 2 weeks is uneven, she chooses, not schedules. Lena nods once and the air shifts. My turn, she says and rests a hand on my sleeve. I want a date with him, one single try. She points at Dan, then back to me. No sabotage and no martyr act. Dan's eyebrows jump like he won a jackpot. He steps in too close, then corrects the distance. I can do respectful, I can do clear, he offers. A nervous laugh slips out and dies fast. I check her eyes for hesitation, none appears yet. After that date, we reevaluate with you present. Non-negotiable, I add because ambiguity favors chaos. Lena gives a short nod and tension sharpens. Tomorrow night, Dan blurts, then swallows ambition. Early, he glances between us, calculating again. Lena holds up 1 finger for patience. You'll text details and you'll keep them simple. He starts to promise fireworks, then clamps his mouth. Simple, he repeats, learning as he goes. I grip the railing and let my pulse even out. This is where I risk losing both or stop losing myself. Before we go back in, Lena says, voice low. I need one commitment from you. She waits until I meet her gaze without blinking. If I say it's not working, you let it end immediately. Yes, I feel the word seat itself in lock. Not heroic, just necessary and grown. Dan looks surprised, then wary of what that means. He studies me like the rules just changed. She checks the time again and points to the door. We rejoin, and no more interference tonight. Dan nods, already writing victory in his head. I follow, already preparing for the aftermath. We push through the door and Dan snaps his fingers. A server appears like he rehearsed it with him earlier. Round for the table, he announces, eyes locked on Lena. I count breaths and keep my mouth closed for now. Lena lifts a palm and the order stalls midair. One drink each, nothing flashy, she instructs without blinking. Dan's smile twitches, then returns like a reflex. I mark that twitch because it always costs someone. His phone buzzes and he angles the screen away. Lena notices and taps the table once for focus. Text me tomorrow details, she reminds him, voice level. He nods fast, too eager to hide the scramble. He leans into charm and cues up a story. I catch the beginning and feel it isn't his. She tilts her head like a judge behind glass. He barrels on until silence flattens the punchline. Try again shorter, she suggests and takes a sip. He laughs and shrugs like it's all part of show. I look at him and remember the corridor rules. He looks back and remembers them differently. A mutual friend drifts over and bumps my shoulder. You cool, he asks softly, eyes flicking between us. I lift an eyebrow and keep my posture square. Dan watches that exchange like it's a scoreboard. The server returns and sets down our choices. Dan grabs the tab before I can even reach. On me tonight, he declares, chin high. Lena glances at my pocket and then at him. I swipe my phone and see an alert blinking. A charge from earlier sits there like a flare. My jaw tightens and Dan pretends nothing happened. Lena sees the shift and leans forward slightly. Problem, she asks, fingers drumming a small warning. Previous purchase, I answer, keeping it plain. Dan raises both hands, a performance of innocence. Resolved, he assures, but his eyes dodge mine. Walk with me, Lena tells him, standing without hurry. They move 3 steps away, still in earshot. He starts promising simple plans, then adds extras. She narrows her eyes and he trips over enthusiasm. I stay seated and let the room blur a notch. Every instinct pushes me to run interference again. The commitment from outside holds my spine upright. I grip the edge and choose restraint over rescue. They return and she sits with her shoulders set. Tomorrow is test, not spectacle, she reminds both of us. Clear, direct, on time, she adds with deliberate pacing. Dan agrees, though his foot can't stop jittering. A stranger stumbles and clips my chair on his way. Dan steadies the guy with one practiced motion. He looks back at us like he just saved something. Lena thanks him and heat crawls up my neck. Your turn, she says, eyes on me now. What does good behavior look like tonight? I fold my hands and answer carefully and firm. I keep distance, stay present, and avoid damage. Good, she says, but the word lands heavy. Dan loosens his shoulders like permission just arrived. He edges closer, trying to occupy her horizon. She angles her chair and half that attempt dies. Another buzz lights up his pocket again. He checks it, then locks the screen in a rush. Everything okay? Lena asks without softening the tone. Logistics, he replies, and anxiety flashes quick. I stand a stretch and break the pattern. He mirrors the move like a challenge thrown sideways. Our friend clears his throat and finds a neutral topic. No one takes it and the pause grows teeth. Lena rises and gestures toward the exit once more. One final lap around the block, she declares quietly. 3 minutes, same neutrality, no commentary from anyone. Dan nods and I step aside by inches. They reach the door and he holds it open. He glances back at me like a dare in disguise. I raise my glass a fraction and hold his stare. The door closes and my reflection stays behind. The door swings open and they reappear shoulder to shoulder. Dan's grin strains like a pulled muscle that won't release. Lena scans the room once and lands on me. Tomorrow stands, you both know the terms, hold them. He claps his hands once in pockets triumph. Text at 9, pick up at 7, simple plan. Lena nods and points at her watch for emphasis. I raise 2 fingers in acknowledgement and swallow heat. She heads for the exit and pauses at the threshold. Sleep on your pride, she throws over her shoulder. It's directed at both of us and lands like a gavel. Dan exhales through his nose and flexes his jaw. He pivots toward me and lowers his voice. Appreciate the space tonight, truly appreciate it. The words scrape like pennies dropped in a jar. I nod once and let silence do the rest. Outside, the night bites and keeps me alert. My phone buzzes with a new notification. A group chat pings with Dan's winking selfie. Caption reads, tomorrow's win is loading, play nice. I type nothing and lock the screen hard. My chest tightens with the shape of a choice. I promised restraint and the promise still burns. I walk home and rehearse letting things unfold. Morning brings a message from Lena at 9. Confirm venue and time by noon, no changes. I reply with a thumbs up and nothing else. She replies with a single dot and nothing more. 10 minutes later, Dan floods my screen with drafts. Picture options, joke options, outfit options, everything curated. He asks if he should bring a surprise tonight. I breathe and answer with 3 words, keep it straightforward. He pushes back with a string of bright emojis. Then he sends a screenshot of dinner reservations. 2 locations show up with overlapping times. He calls it a backup, I call it hedging. I remind him of her condition without preaching. He replies with a shrug emoji that isn't friendly. Relax, he writes, I'm reading the room now. I close the chat before my temper writes back. Noon hits and Lena checks status with surgical precision. Final plan please, she writes, short and centered. Dan finally picks one venue and confirms. She answers with a thumbs up and the clock starts. Afternoon drifts and my resolve wobbles once. I pace and break the habit by washing dishes. The mirror catches me scowling at nothing honest. I laugh without humor and keep my hands busy. At 6:30 he fires off a photo. New jacket, clean shoes, victory in the eyes. Heading out, he writes with fireworks I ignore. Wish me luck, he adds, I do not respond. 6:45 and Lena sends a different kind of text. Running 5 behind, he moved the meetup point. I stare at the words and feel friction rise. I answer with care, choose what keeps you steady. 7:15 and another ping rattles me. Arrived, she writes, he's on his way now. I taste metal and set the phone face down. My promise feels heavier than anything I'm holding. 7:25 and a new bubble appears. Sorry about the shuffle, traffic ate my route. He attaches a selfie near the wrong address. I close my eyes and count to 10. 7:35 and my screen lights again. Here now, Lena writes, we're starting. I sit on the couch and don't move. My hands curl into fists and then release. 7:50 and he sends a boisterous update. He lists appetizers like a trophy checklist. Then a photo of tickets I've never seen before. My jaw clicks and the room wobbles out of frame. 8 o'clock and a friend drops a message. Saw Dan earlier reserving for 2 different places. No commentary, just that single line with weight. I type thank you and mute the thread. 8:10 and Lena writes again with precision. Good conversation so far, energy a bit pushy. I craft my reply slowly and without bias. Go at your pace, control your exits. 8:25 and Dan fires off another update. Thumbs up from staff, vibe is perfect, he writes. He adds a wink I can't translate as respect. I shove the phone away and stand. I try breathing in 4s and it fails. I try music and stop after 2 measures. Finally, I plant both feet and hold still. It helps until the next alert cracks through. 8:40 and Lena's message turns clipped. He keeps pitching extra stops after dinner. I send one line that honors the boundary. You decide the finish, period. 9 o'clock and silence swallows the room. I count steps from the couch to the door. Every old habit begs to intervene again. I grip the counter and choose patience like a weight. 9:20 and a voice memo lands unexpectedly. I listen and hear footsteps, then a steady breath. We're walking, she says low but firm. I'm ending this soon if it keeps drifting. 9:30 and Dan pushes a flourish into my phone. Nightcap secured, she's loving it, his caption reads. He adds a clip of them outside a second venue. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes and he misses it. 9:40 and Lena texts privately in a rush. Switching to home, he's insisting on an encore. I feel heat flood my face and grip the chair. You owe nothing extra, I reply, call your ride. 9:42 and she answers with a single word. Doing, it lands like a door closing cleanly. My lungs finally expand and I sit down. I brace for his version of events anyway. 10 o'clock and my doorbell rings too sharp. I open to Dan pacing the hallway like a storm. He barrels past me and throws his hands wide. She bailated early, what did you text her? I shut the door and keep my back straight. She reported the night felt restless with add-ons. He laughs once and it breaks in the middle. So you coached her to ditch, congratulations. I reminded her she controls her time, I answer. You moved targets and the trust evaporated. His face tightens and the veneer finally cracks. Always the saint until you pull the trigger. I step forward and he backpedals on instinct. No more coins tossed for attention, I tell him. You want respect, earn it without stunts. He looks past me like the words are bugs. He grabs a glass from my counter and fumbles. Water spills and he doesn't wipe it up. He glares at the mess like it insulted him. I was close, he mutters, you pulled her away. I point at the sink and then at the door. We're not doing this narrative in my kitchen. Own your choices and clean the splash. He slams the glass down and ignores the towel. My phone lights with a new message from Lena. At my place safe, thanks for earlier clarity. She adds one more line and it takes my breath. I want to talk tomorrow with both of you. I show him the screen and let the silence expand. He reads it twice and shakes his head slowly. That's a tribunal, he scoffs, I'm not surrendering. It's accountability, I counter, show up or stay small. He stalks toward the exit and stops at the threshold. You'll twist it and come out golden, he growls. Not this time, I reply, I'll own my part. He studies me like he's never learned my face. He leaves and the hallway swallows his footsteps whole. I lock the door and lean my forehead against it. The quiet roars until my breathing evens out. Then I start sweeping glassy thoughts into order. I text Lena one line and keep it spare. I'll be there, ready to answer directly. She replies with a check mark and a short pause. Rest, she writes, and my shoulders finally drop. Midnight approaches and my phone remains silent. I wash the glass and wipe the counter dry. Every motion feels like packing away an old costume. Tomorrow will either gut me or set the bones. I lie down and keep the room dim and simple. I replay each pivot and mark where I flinched. I rehearse speech that uses few words and truth. The script shrinks until only honesty remains. Sleep comes late and hard and stubborn. When it finally lands, I dream of blank calendars. Nothing penciled in, just space and choice. I wake before dawn with my jaw unclenched. I check my phone and find no new storms. One unread message appears from a mutual friend. Call me later, he's spinning to others already. I archive it and choose stillness over gossip. I dress and pour water and stand by the window. I practice saying sorry without dressing it up. I practice saying no without flinching or rage. Both sentences feel clean enough to carry. 9 sharp tomorrow waits on the other side. Her living room will test whatever I learned. He will come loaded with stories and blame. I will come with fewer words and stronger spine. The buzzer sounds once and I push the door. Lena waits with arms folded, steady and unreadable. Dan stands near the couch with forced ease. He smirks at me then looks away fast. No introductions, Lena says and points to chairs. We have 1 hour and we use it. Dan laughs through his nose and checks his phone. I keep my hands visible and my shoulders loose. Order is simple, she continues with clipped precision. He speaks 5 minutes, then you speak 5. No interruptions, questions after, clock runs. Dan spreads his fingers like he invented discipline. He starts with a polished story, quick and loud. He blames timing, logistics, and vague misunderstandings. He describes a great date that never quite landed. He avoids the parts where choices piled up. I watch a shoe bounce and count the beats. He flashes charm when the logic wobbles. He glances at Lena every third sentence for approval. Her face stays calm and his rhythm falters. Last point, he says and forces a grin. I went bold because subtle never wins. He gestures at me like I'm a cautionary tale. Standing back creates fog that keeps people stuck. Switch, Lena says and watches the timer. I breathe once and keep my words plain. Bold can be honest, bold can be control. Last night felt like the second kind. 3 facts, I continue and tilt my head. You shifted plans twice without consent. You leaned on momentum after she declined extras. You came to my place to reframe blame. Dan scoffs and opens his mouth, then stops. Lena lifts a finger toward the clock and waits. I hold eye contact because that is my change. I am done apologizing for seeing clearly. You want to win, I say in the quiet. I want trust that does not need spectacle. If you can match her pace, great. If not, the risk is everything breaking. Time, Lena announces and sets the phone down. Her focus moves between us like a scanner. Questions now, short answers, no speeches. She points at Dan and nods once. What did you text her during our date? He asks. 2 lines, I answer and keep my voice level. Respect or exit, choose what keeps you steady. No opinions beyond that, no side commentary. He snorts and tries to wave it off. You knew exactly how that would land. Lena leans forward and taps the table. Next question, she says, and the floor shifts. My turn, I say and glance at him. What was the second reservation actually for? He hesitates and then tries a casual shrug. Insurance, he mutters, and the word hangs. Lena marks something in her head and breathes slowly. Her gaze sharpens and the room compresses. She turns to him with a single tilt. Ask him one more, she instructs, voice flat. Do you think I'm your rival or your friend? He asks. Today you are neither, I answer without flinch. Friends own damage and repair it. Rivals at least respect rules during a match. He stares at the wall like it owes him comfort. Fine, he says and crosses one ankle. I have one for you, he faces Lena carefully. Did you feel anything with me last night? I felt effort and hurry, she replies evenly. I liked pieces, I disliked pressure disguised as excitement. I asked for steady and kept chasing guardrails. She pauses and the pause feels instructive. He rolls his shoulders and searches for a comeback. Nothing arrives that helps his case much. He tries a softened tone and smaller promises. Give me a restart, he offers, voice quiet. Lena studies his face and then my posture. This is not a courtroom, she says and exhales. This is my time and it matters. She sets a glass down with a measured click. I like both of you differently, she states. One of you respects pace even when it hurts. The other pulls me forward without checking my footing. Only one version survives more than a week. Dan's mouth twitches and a shadow of anger flashes. Pick then, he snaps and then he softens. Sorry, he adds quickly, palm raised. But pick because limbo kills me. Me too, I say and keep my tone clean. I will follow whatever you choose. If you want distance from me, I'll honor it. I will not lobby after this moment. Lena stands and we stand with her automatically. The choice is this, she says and holds steady. I'm taking a month without both of you first. Then I'll ask one of you to meet me. Dan blinks like a flash went off nearby. A month alone, he repeats, confused and annoyed. That's not choosing, that's hiding from pressure. She tilts her head and his complaint dies. It is choosing myself, she answers without wavering. I want to see my own needs without noise. If either of you intrudes, you opt out entirely. Her eyes move to me and wait. I'll respect that, I say and feel it anchor. No check-ins, no hints, no back-channel updates. I needed this boundary years ago and missed it. I let that truth arrive without armor. Dan throws his keys into the air and catches them. He laughs once and slumps into his seat. You're both acting like saints on television. No one lives like that outside a script. Maybe start anyway, I answer and keep still. Try living with the mess without making more. It might feel quiet and wrong for a while. It might be the only path that works. Lena sets a timer for the month and shows it. This is not symbolic, she warns with sharp clarity. It's a hard line with consequences. Break it and I don't revisit the decision. Dan rubs his face and finally looks tired. I wanted momentum, he admits without swagger. I hate waiting because waiting feels like losing. He stares at his hands and stops fidgeting. That sentence is honest, I say and nod once. It explains the last week better than anything. Can you hold the month without turning it into theater? He shrugs, then stands like the ground moved. I can try, he answers with one slow breath. Trying means no stories to our circle, Lena adds. No recruiting allies, no spin. Dan presses his lips together and gives a terse nod. Silence expands, not empty, just exact. We hear the hum of a distant appliance. It marks the seconds like a referee's whistle. No one moves toward the door yet. I have one final question, Lena says and waits. If I choose him next month, can you stay human? She points at Dan and the air prickles. I'm not asking for support, just decency. He looks at me and then at the floor. I won't sabotage, he manages, almost steady. I will disappear for a while if needed. That is the closest thing to grace he owns. Good, she answers and unclenches her shoulders. Because if I choose him and you lash out, I end both threads permanently. Her gaze does not drift as she says it. Dan reaches for the doorknob and pauses. You'll call this maturity, he mutters without venom. Maybe I'll learn it on the walk home. He leaves with a soft click, not a slam. The room exhales when he is gone. I stay standing because sitting feels like retreat. Lena watches me with measured patience. We're not done, she says, and my chest tightens. Two things for you, she continues calmly and firm. Stop running triage for other people's messes. Stop hiding behind patience when you want something. Her words sting because they land exactly. I grip the back of the chair and hold. You're right, I answer, and I mean it. I created space to avoid naming desire. That lack invited someone else to fill it. She nods once like a flag dropped for real. This month gives me clean ground to think. It gives you practice naming things aloud. We both use it or we waste everything. I take out my phone and open our chat. I type a single line and show her screen. I will not message unless you text first. I will keep that for 30 days straight. She reads it and then closes her eyes. When they open again, they carry less strain. Thank you, she says, not dramatic, just clear. Your next action is leaving when I ask. Understood, I reply and reach for my jacket. I stop and look back because honesty should finish. I hope you pick me after the quiet, I admit. I won't campaign, I just needed that spoken. A corner of her mouth lifts and settles again. That admission is fine, she answers without flourish. It lives here and nowhere else. Now go and let me have silence. I walk to the entry and place my hand on the bolt. Old versions of me would crack a joke to soften. I do not because softness kept us off target. I open the door and step into the hallway. Footsteps echo faintly from the stairs, likely Dan. I do not follow or call his name. I lean on the rail and breathe like a metronome. The month ahead stretches, not empty, just strict. My phone vibrates once with a system reminder. I swipe it away before curiosity can grow teeth. One day at a time is not a slogan here. It is a boundary I chose and will measure. Outside the building, I pause at the curb. I replay the hour and mark each moment I changed. Less rescue, more truth, fewer ornaments. Something unclutters inside and I let it stay. A message lands from an unknown number immediately. Group playing tonight, you in, it asks abrupt. I archive it without reading further or answering. Noise will tempt me all month and I will decline. Another buzz arrives, one final ripple from earlier. Dan has removed me from a chat we shared. He writes 2 words in a separate thread. Good luck, they read like surrender, not threat. I pocket the phone and start walking home. My steps feel deliberate and heavier yet freer. I do not script speeches for 30 days from now. I practice silence that still carries backbone. Halfway down the block, I stop and look back. A window on the third floor opens a fraction. It closes again with a quiet latch I can hear. That small sound becomes the bell that ends the match.